Hi guys. So I'm Danny. I work in analytics at a marketing agency called Symmetrical. Today I'll be talking about BigQuery and how to get the most out of it as a marketing analyst. So what are we going to be covering today? So we'll start off exploring the challenges in marketing analytics, looking at some of the solutions, and start to hopefully understand why BigQuery is a great solution here. We'll get a bit more hands-on as well with BigQuery, looking at how we can use it to bring data to life and consider some of the use cases of it. And finally, we'll come on where to begin from a sort of data centralization perspective, but also getting a bit more hands-on with a SQL as well. So what are the current challenges we're facing in marketing analytics today? So starting off with the explosion of data, there's lots of different data structures. It makes it quite difficult to kind of cross-compare our metrics. The sheer volume of the data itself is causing us to sort of not be so reliant on Excel when it comes to like processing, and we have to use other tools as well. The velocity of the data as well, there's so many decisions we have to make in real time as well, so it's becoming a bit of a challenge. Data is scattered across different data sources as well. Obviously, we use different tools to do different things. It leads to inconsistencies across the platforms, and it's no surprise, they're all going to measure things slightly differently. From a data integration side as well, you're not going to see all your tools communicating so nicely with each other. Google, Meta, obviously they're not going to be best friends. So the need for data centralization is becoming really important, right? And creating that holistic view of our marketing efforts, understanding how each of our campaigns are impacting the user journey at different points. Having centralized data also gives us the ability to make those real-time decisions, and it also promotes this data culture, which is really important in organizations, having at one location for people to turn to, as opposed to kind of going off into different tools, and reduces the likelihood as well of people kind of reporting on inconsistent stats across the organization. The demand for advanced data skills as well, I think, is becoming increasingly more important. So GA4 is an obvious one here, where marketing managers, channel specialists are just struggling a little bit more with GA4. The need to have someone who's got the ability to really understand how the data is being measured, interpret it, as well as being able to draw the insights is becoming increasingly more important. Obviously, SQL being an obvious one here, but also the whole data engineer role is quite topical at the moment. The idea being, you don't want your analysts just to be happy with just having a table where they can draw insights from it. You want your analysts to be able to actually look back at how that data is being measured, how it's then being centralized, creating these tables themselves. So what is the future, right, for marketing analytics? So trend towards data centralization, single source of truth, especially in a world where attribution is becoming even more difficult, cloud-based platforms, obviously data privacy, and machine learning as well. So how is BigQuery the solution? Well, what is BigQuery? So it's a web service from Google Cloud Platform. It's designed for handling and analyzing big data sets. It's cloud-based, and it's designed to process SQL queries at incredible speed and efficiency. So what can we do with it? Data consolidation, centralization, obviously, as a data warehouse. Its scale and speed allows for real-time analyses. It's accessible via SQL, which is obviously ideal. It's quite a relatively straightforward programming language to learn. The advanced analytics capabilities as well, right? You can't, with GA4, for instance, and other analytics platforms, you're quite limited in terms of what you can do. So BigQuery really opens up a list of more options, which we'll have a look at in a minute. And the integration side of it as well is really good for visualization. You can link up with Looker Studio, Tableau, Power BI as well. So we're going to have a look at some examples of how we can use BigQuery and bring data to life. So just a quick overview of kind of like what the BigQuery platform looks like. It's quite a lot going on, but this box at the top is essentially your console. So that's where you can write your SQL code. And you churn out your table at the bottom of it here. So this is where you're kind of like debugging code, writing codes, and just using it to sort of draw some insights from it. So it's a relatively straightforward example of what we've got here. I don't know how well you can read the SQL here, but it's essentially a fake e-commerce, GA4 e-commerce table, selecting distinct users by day who have added a product to the cart. But you can go much further, right? So this is a bit more advanced. We've created a lifetime value for all of our customers and attributed that back to what medium they first came through. So I think you could create a view like this in Universal Analytics using the segments. It's like a 3-month look-back window. The point being with BigQuery, you literally have the ability to define these yourselves. You're not so limited by the functionalities of these analytics platforms. You can create automated views. This actually isn't an automated view, but I just wanted to show because it's a relatively new feature that they've released. So when you write your code, instead of getting a table, you can also view it as a chart, which makes it really useful for sort of big spikes. If you're just testing your code and want to get some insights from it as well, it's really useful. But where it becomes really powerful is when you create these automated visuals. So this is an example of Looker Studio, where Google to Google, it's obviously a really straightforward integration. We've literally just plugged in the SQL code which we wrote down there in the bottom in the data source. You can do the same, Power BI, Tableau, that kind of thing. The whole point here being, once you've got your code written, once you've connected it up, it's automated. You don't have to make any tweaks to it, process it every month or so. It's literally there, fully automated. There's a lot you can do from a kind of marketing campaign optimization perspective as well. So this is an example where we fed our GA4 data into BigQuery. We fed our CRM data into BigQuery. So we're marrying up that offline and online behavior. And we've created these different attribution models, so first touch, last touch, linear touch. You can then filter to different campaigns and see at what point of the user journey each campaign is having an impact. Another thing to point out on the attribution side of things is obviously lots of these tools like GA4, Ads, Meta, TikTok, they have their own approaches when it comes to attribution. So having that all centralized in one location makes it much easier for you to start cross-comparing your attribution models and get a little bit closer to the truth. More marketing optimization ideas, so create segments and personalize user experience. So here we've got an example where we've essentially pumped in all of our GA data, Shopify data, and started to blend it together, identify a list of user IDs, create some segments. I think the example we've gone for here is a drinks company. So you've got your loyal buyers, discount code abusers, your alcohol buyers, soft drink buyers, health enthusiasts, and you can essentially create a set of conditions as to whether or not someone fits into a particular segment. I mean, it's just a binary option for if at said point in time they fit into that category. So you can personalize your experience with that. If you've got a user ID exposed on the front end, for instance, maybe speak to your front end developer. You know, if someone's a health enthusiast, start targeting them with more recommended products for your new health range, for instance. You can also take your segments data and feed it off into retargeting platforms, email platforms as well, if you want to be a bit more targeted with your content strategy. And obviously as well, there's a built-in sort of machine learning functionality of BigQuery, which is really powerful. So the example we've gone for here is literally just transactions by day for paid social. Create a model, train it, test it on a section of your data set. And if you're happy with it, create some forecasts into the future. So I think this one shows it a bit better. You can essentially see that confidence interval, what the likelihood is of your model being correct. Also feed in more data as well. Don't limit it to just the transactions, which we've gone for here. If you've got budget, historic data, sessions, for instance, as well, make your models really powerful. A really important point as well, and there's a bit of a sort of idea dump at the moment, but this centralization piece allows you to cross-compare metrics from different platforms. So you could have a paid campaign going on and see how that correlates to your organic traffic. Maybe there's some cannibalization going on, or more people might be coming back through organic traffic in the future from the paid campaigns. Or link acquisition, you might want to see if you've got correlation with the keywords improving. The example we've gone for here, Google Analytics data from people visiting fizzy drinks pages and seeing how that correlates to Google Trends data for fizzy drink searches. So you can see in the blue that organic traffic taking quite a big dip, whereas the search trends doesn't dip so much. So begs the question of what's happened here. Is there a dip in rankings? Was there a Google update? That kind of thing. I didn't really know how best to visualize this slide, so it's kind of a bit of a storytelling approach. So picture this, where you've got a user who visits your website and then they transact. They then return, they sign up for a newsletter, they then go into the store using a discount code which they acquired from that email newsletter. So it could be a distinct, for that person, a distinct discount code. Their cookies are cleared from themselves or their browser. They return to your website and make another transaction. So you've got an online transaction, in-store transaction, another online transaction. You can, in a very sort of straightforward way, see that as 3 separate users. The idea here being you've got your centralized data in BigQuery. You've got discount code ID, email addresses, transaction IDs. You've got the ability to actually marry up that full user journey and start to realize that this isn't 3 people, it's just 1 person. So where to begin, right? There's lots of things to consider here. This is a kind of ideal data flow. So you have all these different data sources. Pick and choose which ones you want. Feed that through a data pipeline into BigQuery, and from there you do all your centralization, your merging, and you can start to consider the data activation side of it. So it could be reporting, insights, dashboards, personalized marketing, that kind of thing. So we're going to focus on the sort of data pipeline side now, like getting into BigQuery. How can you do it? It's obviously going to be quite varied. So example of GA4, probably the same, I think, ads and search console. You literally just turn a link on. It's really straightforward. But in other situations, right, some of the other data sources will require you to consider other tools. So we've got Stitch here. I think you can use Supermetrics as well. Trying to connect to our Shopify data, you literally just pick which table you want from a data source and send it off into BigQuery in happy days. Pretty straightforward, user-friendly interface as well, but obviously there's a cost associated to it. Your data might need transforming before you send it into BigQuery, though. So you could use a tool such as Adverity, where you have transformations, enrichments. Let's say you've got a campaign in Meta and a campaign in LinkedIn. You might want to standardize the campaign name before you feed that data into BigQuery. Helps just keeping it a bit tidier, making it a little bit easier for your joins. Or do you have to develop a resource? So if you have, great, maybe consider connecting to the APIs yourselves, or maybe one of those platforms actually haven't got an integration to the data source you're wanting to use. So you can rely on develop a resource too. And finally, we've got data transfers, which is a functionality where you can connect to things like SQL databases, S3 buckets. But you can also upload CSVs into BigQuery as well. So if you've got like a static list of postcode information, SKU codes to look up products, or targets for the year, for instance, you can just upload a CSV in as well and start using it in your merges. So where to begin, right? So we want to start looking at how to join our data. We've got it going into BigQuery. Now we can consider the data activation side of things. The idea is essentially to work backwards. So think about what you're trying to achieve and then consider how you can get your data into the right format. So you're going to join on as granular level as possible. It could be a landing page in the instance of like Search Console and GA4, maybe dates. If you want to go really granular, you can select user IDs or emails, those kinds of things, campaign names as well. So yeah, you want to work backwards to make tables. So we're going to go through a couple examples of how that looks. Let's suppose in the yellow it says an email marketing list. You just want to create a list of emails for your marketing campaign. What's the table going to look like? Literally just one column of email addresses. Could come from HubSpot as an example there, but you could obviously join it with other data sets as well, but the output being just one column of emails. What if we wanted to look at the daily breakdown of website sessions and the offline transactions from our CRM? So 3 columns, date, sessions, transactions. Your sessions could come from GA, your transactions could come from your CRM. And that join key obviously being the date column here. But you can take it a step further and make it a bit more complicated. So let's say we've got a sort of organic focused report where we want to look at by month, by landing page, how many organic sessions we've got. I'm going to use the laser actually. How many organic sessions we've got, search volume, average rank, backlinks, first visit total transactions, last visit total transactions, and an array of different data sources, right? So the important thing if you're trying to create a view like this is that you need to have a month and a landing page column in all of these data sets here, otherwise it's obviously not going to join. So where to begin? So we're just going to use this as an example, right, just to get a bit more hands-on with a SQL here. So date, sessions, transactions. And we're going to be using this thing called the left join, and it's essentially just a VLOOKUP. You've got to pick which join you want to do, but I'm going to kind of leave it for you guys to Google the ways to do joins. But left join's relatively straightforward. So let's suppose we've got this data set here, the GA data. Obviously, it's normally nested nowadays, but just for simplicity's sake, we've processed it so that you've just got your date, channel, device, sessions, and conversions. And then your CRM table is literally just date and transactions, let's say. So what's a join key? Straightforward one on the date. So we want to prepare our data in order to actually use that left join. So we're going to select all our GA data, and we can see what it looks like here. We need to aggregate it, right? We've got our channel and our device as well, which we don't need. So we're going to write some code here. So we want to sum our sessions by day, group it by day, and then you can see the output there. But the date doesn't quite look like it's in the right format yet. So a small tweak, the kind of thing you can quite often run into. I think especially with GA4, it's often in that format. So you want to pass the date, format it as a date, and then happy days, you've got your total daily sessions with the date column in the right format. That's GA sessions done. Now let's have a look at the transactions data. Already looks good, nothing you need to do here. And then we're ready for that join, right? So we've got sessions table, transactions table, and then we'll go down there. This is where we're doing that join. So we select from a sessions table, left join the transactions table, and what we're joining on is that date column from both of them. So it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's just a VLOOKUP, really. So some sort of take-home points, just some final recommendations from me. Start small and expand. This can look quite overwhelming at first. So start with something like your native integrations, and then consider maybe 1 or 2 more data sources that you might want to bring in, like Shopify or Meta. And don't try and be too smart about what you do with the data. Just try and get some quick insights, create some reports, create some views which people in the organization maybe have never seen before. And you'll notice that data culture kind of growing organically as well from it. Be conscious of costs. I can't remember how much is free per month from BigQuery, but it's relatively generous. My kind of outlook is, if you're actually seeing that you're spending a bit of money on BigQuery, then it's good. You're actually using your data. I've seen lots of companies not even getting near the thresholds. But obviously, costs, especially like over time, as more and more data gets collected, it's going to become a bit more of a thing to be aware of. So some approaches to being sensitive to costs, so optimize your SQL queries. If you're just trying to get data for last month, don't query the whole database, kind of an obvious one. Set alerts so you can have like threshold limits. So if you're going over a specific spend, for instance, it cuts out and stops processing data for you. You can cache your results as well. I mean, it caches them automatically in BigQuery. So if you run some code 3 hours ago, you want to go and have a look at it, just go back, don't run the code again. Run your queries overnight. So this is really useful when you've got like reports or dashboards set up. You don't want people, if 10 people use your dashboard per day, every time they come in, they'll be like processing the entire data set. So if you run your queries overnight, save it as a scheduled query, and you just refer to that query, it will save you a lot. You'll only have to run it once per day. Preview your data as well. You can limit your data as well. Some final conclusions. So some take-home points here. You can centralize your data in BigQuery. It's really important for overcoming those data silos. From a marketing perspective, this is key for optimizing campaign, website, and overall marketing performance. Start simple. Prioritize what integrations are really important to you and expand as your data culture grows. Consider which data sources should be merged in. Don't limit it just to marketing data. Like, think about how marketing is going to overlap with other areas of the business. Cost of goods, product stock, those kinds of things as well. You can also bring that into BigQuery. Think how you can start to apply like machine learning models to how much stock you might need at a future point in time, for instance. And yeah, consider how you can centralize other data sources as well, and then feed that off into like platforms for retargeting, that kind of thing. If anyone's got any questions, I'm available at the end. If you want to talk to me about SQL and processing your J4 data as well, I'm more than happy to do that. So yeah, thank you very much.